Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we're looking at a creature that honestly, most of us just dismiss as a simple backyard annoyance. But we're going to completely reframe how you see them. We are, of course, talking about the mosquito. Far from just a pesky bug to swat away at a barbecue, the mosquito is this incredible, highly adaptable, evolutionary survivor with a genuinely fascinating biological life cycle.
Okay, let's dive into this. To really appreciate this insect, we first have to ask a simple question. Just how extreme are the habitats where mosquitoes can actually survive? I mean, you might think they only live in tropical swamps or, muggy summer forests, but their resilience is absolutely staggering.
Just consider these survival stats for a second. Mosquitoes have actually been discovered thriving in active mines literally a full mile below the surface of the Earth. And then, right on the opposite extreme, they've been found chilling on freezing mountain peaks up to 14,000 feet high. Virtually any natural or man-made collection of water can support their production. Building some immediate respect for their sheer durability really sets the stage before we examine exactly how they manage to grow and, conquer these environments.
So here's our roadmap for today's explainer. First, we'll meet the ultimate survivor. Then, we're going to walk step by step through their chronological transformation. Stage 1, the egg. Stage 2, the wiggling larva. Stage 3, the tumbling pupa. And Stage 4, adult emergence. Finally, we'll wrap things up by uncovering the surprising lifespan.
Section 1. Meet the ultimate survivor. With over 3,000 species worldwide, including 176 in the US alone, their diversity is just huge. Now, while most are just a nuisance, a few definitely act as serious disease carriers, but they're all biologically identified by two main features, that long piercing proboscis and the presence of scales on their wing veins. And, no matter what kind of mosquito we're talking about, they absolutely all need standing water to reproduce. But their preferred habitats vary wildly. Some are floodwater species using temporary puddles, while others are permanent water mosquitoes. Some have even evolved specifically to use our artificial containers. But regardless of the habitat, every single mosquito on Earth undergoes the exact same 4 stages of development: egg, larva, pupa, and adult. And those middle two, the larval and pupal stages, they are always fully aquatic.
Let's start right at the beginning. Stage 1, the egg. This is a phase defined by waiting for water. Depending on the species, a female mosquito lays her eggs either individually or clumped together in attached groups that we call rafts. These are placed directly on the surface of still water, along damp edges, or in areas that are just prone to future flooding. As we mentioned, standing water is an absolute requirement to kick off this reproduction cycle. But what's really interesting about this is the sheer patience of this insect. If an egg is laid out of water and subject to intermittent flooding, the embryo doesn't just die when things dry up. No way. It can lie completely dormant for several years. They simply wait it out until the ideal natural hatching conditions are finally met. In fact, mosquitoes frequently survive the harsh winter, a process called overwintering, while safely tucked away in this super durable egg stage.
Moving right along, once that egg hatches, we enter Stage 2, the wiggling larva. This is the first phase of their life aquatic.
So these newly hatched larvae hang suspended from the water's surface, acting as tiny filter feeders that just gobble up aquatic microorganisms. But here's the catch. Even though they live completely underwater, they still need to breathe air. And this brilliantly illustrates an amazing biological adaptation, the siphon. The siphon is essentially an air tube extending from the larva's posterior that reaches right up to the water's surface, acting exactly like a snorkel. It lets them just hang out right below the surface, perfectly positioned for feeding while still grabbing oxygen from the air above.
Now, if you've ever looked into a stagnant bucket of water in the summer, you've probably seen these little guys. They've earned the very appropriate nickname wigglers or wrigglers, and this comes directly from their main defense mechanism. When they're alarmed by, say, a shadow or some movement, the larvae detach from the surface and dive deeper into the water by swimming in this very characteristic, sort of frantic S motion to evade threats. It's wild to watch.
Let's look at how this all builds across the timeline. After the egg hatches on day 0, the larva begins to feed, and man, do they grow rapidly. As they feed, they literally outgrow their exterior covering. Over the next several days, they cast off their old exoskeleton and form a new one in phases called instars. There are 4 instar stages in total. Depending on the species, the water temperature, and just how much food is available, this entire larval stage can end anywhere from day 4 to day 14.
Which brings us to Stage 3, the tumbling pupa. This is a fascinating non-feeding transition phase.
Upon entering this stage, feeding stops entirely. Yep, the pupa doesn't eat a single thing. However, they are still tethered to the surface because they must continue to breathe air, and they remain incredibly sensitive to their environment. Much like the larvae had a fun nickname, the pupae have one too, tumblers. Even though they're essentially in this transitionary cocoon state, they are physically active. If disturbed by light changes or shadows above the water, they use a vigorous rolling or tumbling action to escape away from the surface and into deeper, safer water.
Now, the pupal stage is very short. It really only lasts a mere 1.5 to 4 days. But the conclusion of this stage, it is dramatic and, frankly, almost alien-like. The pupa's skin splits right down its back, and the newly formed adult mosquito slowly emerges from the shell, stepping out to rest directly on the surface tension of the water as its new body hardens up.
Finally, we hit stage 4, adult emergence. And from the second they leave the water, it is a literal race against time.
Typically, the male adult mosquitoes are going to emerge first. But they don't go far. They actually linger right near the breeding site, just waiting for the females to emerge because mating must happen incredibly quickly. So the crucial point here is understanding the sheer scale of their mortality rate. Look at this. In the wild, as much as 30% of the adult population can die every single day. Because their odds of survival are just so incredibly low, females have to compensate for this massive daily wipeout by mating immediately and laying huge numbers of eggs just to guarantee the continuation of their species.
This leads us to the final chapter of our story today, the surprising lifespan. It's truly a tale of two mosquitoes.
Once they're out in the world, the story of the mosquito becomes dictated entirely by whether it's male or female, and the contrast is pretty striking. Take a look at the male adult. He lives a very short, honestly harmless life of only 6 or 7 days on average. Males feed primarily on plant nectar. They never take a blood meal. Now, on the flip side, consider the female adult. She is built for endurance. While the average female lives about 6 weeks, with an adequate food supply, she can survive up to 5 months or even longer. But to actually nourish and develop her eggs, she usually must take a blood meal in addition to that plant nectar.
Because the female requires that blood, she is equipped with an incredibly sophisticated biological hunting toolkit. She locates her victims by tracking the carbon dioxide we exhale, along with other trace chemicals, amino acids, and something called octinol. She even tracks the specific temperature patterns our bodies produce. And get this, she doesn't just do this in your backyard. The average female's flight range is between 1 and 10 miles, but some species will travel a staggering 40 miles just to find a blood meal. After she successfully uses those tools to secure a blood meal, the female will oviposit, meaning she'll lay her eggs, officially completing the life cycle. While some species lay eggs only once, others will do it several times over their long lives, constantly hitting the restart button on this relentless cycle. So, I'll leave you with this thought. With embryos that can sleep through years of drought, and adult females practically engineered to track the very breath leaving our lungs from miles away, is the mosquito the ultimate master of adaptation? Thank you so much for checking out this explainer, and we will see you next time.